Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Review. I'm your host, Dylan Wallace. Today, we have a great issue for you guys. You heard the song, so it is going to be an Omega run for today. Just 10 issues that we're going to cover, and no other frills other than that. So we'll just go ahead and get right into the reviews, shall we? And so our 10 books that we have for today is a combination of backlog items and then also stuff that I was trying to finish up from the previous week. So recording this really late at night here on Wednesday and already picked up the polls for May 21st, but wanted to make sure we got through the Omega, got everything reviewed there, and we're all up to date and good to go. So I'm thinking it's pretty late now. So by the time I finish all this, usually pretty exhausted at the end of everything, right? So to do all the video stuff, maybe I'll just get up the audio and then I'll do the video early in the morning. But either way, you should have this Thursday at the absolute latest. So for the reviews here, the books that we're going to go into are Exquisite Corpses, which came out the previous week. Really, really good book. I slept on this one. I almost wish that I would have had it for the quote-unquote main show, but either way, just glad that I read this. This is a really awesome start and really interested to see where this all heads. Next up we have here is World Tree, number 14. One World Under Doom, number 4. The Immortal Thor, 23. Batman the Brave and the Bold, number 8. Batman One Bad Day, Mr. Freeze. This is that series that has each one of Batman's villains, and it's like one extended story. Then we have Huck, The Big Bad World, number 1 from Dark Horse. Then we have Storm, number 2. Miles Morales Spider-Man, number 14, in the middle of gang war. And last but not least is Outsiders, number 8. So those are the books we'll be reviewing in that particular order. Start off here with Exquisite Corpses. And like I said, this book is just awesome. This is net new for comics. So if you're looking to get into something and you haven't jumped into anything before and you're like, well, I don't know the history, this is the book to go for. Definitely beyond a shadow of a doubt. This is what you want to get into in this point in time, in this part of the year in 2025. So let's flip over to League here. If I go to my pages. So I gave it a 4.5. League gave it a 4.5 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
And this book is just incredible. Before I get started here, for those that have listened, you already know, but just a warning for those that are new, I do spoil the heck out of all of these books from basically start to finish. How I like to review these things is basically talk about where we are at thus far if we're further into the series outside of a number 1, then talk about the story and the plot itself, and basically my thoughts and opinions on where things are going, and if I think it's a good time for you to jump in and where things may be heading kind of moving forward. Obviously this is a number 1, so you don't have to worry about that, but the spoilers you do. So if you're thinking, maybe I was thinking on the fence, I should get this, I should not get this, I'm going to tell you right up front, you should just go ahead and get it. But going into the actual story and some of the spoilers itself, this book, the premise basically is that we have 13 families that are crazy rich that run the country. They are the families that actually run the country. The president, Congress, all that is just a puppet show, and none of that actually matters. It's just these 13 families. Once every 5 years on Halloween Day, the representatives of these families hire an assassin, a psychopath, a killer, some sort of crazy person. They all draw a card that represents some sort of weapon, and each one of their assassin gets that particular weapon. They drop them into some no-name town in the middle of the country, and on Halloween Day, I guess 12 hours or however long the span is, they just have all 13 of those people fight to the death, and the last one standing, that family then gets to rule the country for the next 5 years. That's the premise. That's the story. So wild, so crazy, and so incredibly cool. And the way that this book basically sets it up is we have all the players. It's the families that represent the 13 original colonies. So it's the family of New York, the family of Rhode Island, Delaware, Georgia, you name all of them. And they all show their card of what their weapon is and the person that they got. And we're specifically following, I think she's the delegate of Pennsylvania, I want to say. And we're specifically following her. And she's like, some of these families, they just really don't care. The people that they have are just complete screw ups, right? And they're rich, beyond what old money can even you'd imagine, right? They just have all the money in the world, so they don't even care. This is just like a charade that they all sit and watch this thing in some random ass club that no one has access to, that they watch the thing, on film or on video, basically. So they'll just get a bunch of psychopaths just for their own fun and enjoyment. While other families really do care about this, they will hire a trained assassin. They care about the prep and going into it. And I guess you can select your card maybe a year before going in, or 6 months. So we're following this one that's basically, she really wants to win this thing and be in charge. And so she's actually going for an ex-military guy. Others have people that were in like penitentiaries, psycho killers that were like nurses that were killing their patients, others that were setting people on fire, right? It just kind of runs the gamut as far as different people. But the person that's on the cover here was actually the winner from the previous 5 years, who's back in the game and was like picked again. So that's who this person is. Our main character, if you can see them here, is this one, and then this mask. Apparently this family for this state always wears that particular mask, which is so cool. So that's the premise. That's how it's all set up. And the book is basically each one of these families. You're getting a little understanding of like who are the crazy ones, who are actually trying, who like doesn't care at all. Good mix of comic relief, bunch of horror. But the other piece on this, and maybe the side plot, is the families that are living in this town. The sheriff is paid off $10 million and given like a brand new car, new life with new passport, social security, the whole nine. He's off, and he basically just signed off of like, they're going to do what they're going to do, and I'm leaving the town. I'm never coming back. And then we're focusing in on this family. They have a young kid. They're about to go trick-or-treating. It's a single mom. She's working this terrible job. And, now we're starting to feel for like, oh my gosh, these people are going to be caught up in the crossfire. And towards the end, they are. It's these kids that are going to this party, and already these killers are, they know the rules of the game, like that these civilians are not involved. Like they're just straight up collateral damage, but they're like going after them anyways because they're legitimate psychopaths. Like half of them are anyways. So it's just craziness. Such a cool and fun issue and concept. Let's go into the actual art itself. So here we have the lady with a lot of the focuses in on, and the guy that she's trying to recruit. Have the different families all showing up here. Some more of the conversation that you have here. So the art is pretty good. I'd say nothing too crazy. This is all about the story for the most part here. We have this is the boys in the family dressing up for Halloween, and like boom, like look how brutal and gruesome like this thing is, right? So this is already one of them running into some of the killers. We have this one lady, she's an EMS. The sheriff left a note before he left and tried to tell her to leave, but she didn't. Now the calls are starting to come in. Oh, and they took out like all the radio or cell phone. They can only use like radio now. So it's like it's hitting the fan, right? The event has started. It's Hunger Games level type stuff. Awesome. It was a no-brainer on a 4.5. Wasn't quite a 5 because we did spend a lot of time of like just setting everything up, right? So a lot of exposition and I wouldn't say filler because it's not, but it wasn't at the point where it was a 5. But again, 4.5. I was right on par with League. So highly recommend. And as I say that as well, already starting off with it, but this is the comic of the show. So good. So good. So yeah, that is Exquisite Corpses. I highly recommend it. Next up, we have World Tree number 14. This is also from the same author, from James Tynion, the fourth, and I love his work. It's so good. This one, as you can see from the cover, is definitely for the Gooners. I was actually a little worried about posting this one on Instagram just because it's like, I don't know how IG is going to feel about it. But, and at first I didn't see Image post anything on this cover. So I was like, okay, maybe just don't show this, even though it kind of is my cover of the week. And then I did see a post where Image Comics did have it up there. So it's like, okay, I guess it's going to be fine. But outside of the obvious reasons of why it's a Gooner cover, that's cool are like the actual tattoos that these different like tendrils are drawing into like Sammy's body here, which is pretty cool. But this one I gave on League. If I flip over here, I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 4.1. So actually a little bit lower than what most people are thinking here. And there is a distinct reason why. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. This book takes a big detour from what we've been talking about thus far. And the premise here is the world has gone to shit. It's like a post-apocalyptic, almost Walking Dead type of situation, but rather than zombies from some sort of pathogen, it's all because of this website. So this website was found. If people go onto this website, it basically they don't hallucinate, but hypnotizes is the word I'm looking for. Hypnotizes the folks that are on it, and the longer that they're on it, it gets you to the point where you become psychotic and you just want to go around killing people. That's basically the premise. No other way to really describe it. Don't know necessarily the magic behind it, why the site is here, who's all controlling it, but that's what it is. They end up on the site. The more and more they watch it, the more they want to kill, and then these people, they get like basically superhuman strength. If they watch it so much, then they start to transform, and then they kind of fall into like this weird, almost like ethereal thing. It's like bizarre, but this is the more they look at it, the more powerful they get too, and it gets more difficult for people to stop them. They get like super speed. It's crazy. It's like taking I guess a whole bunch of like steroids, basically, if you could think of it that way. And then the more that you watch it, the more powerful you become, but then you lose yourself to it, basically, is really the best way to describe it. So that's the setup and the premise. Sammy here is kind of the main person that's been spreading this disease in modern time, called 2025. But this book goes into the future in 2049. And it's the first time I recall that we go into the future. Maybe we do in some previous issues, but I really can't remember. But the whole issue takes place in like 2049. And we are caught up with a guy who basically it's World Tree, and that's the name of the website. He's posting like watch World Tree or something on a whole bunch of post-apocalyptic buildings, right? It's just rubble and things are destroyed, and it looks like a scene out of The Walking Dead. And then he goes and he hides because there are some of, these people that are coming after him, and they like transform from like these dog, like kind of vampire-y looking things back into humans with all the tattoos and like all butt naked, and then they just keep like running off. So the world is like gone. It's done. It's toast. These things now rule is basically the point. And so this guy is then woken up by a bunch of teenagers, and they basically capture him and take him to like this underground place. So he doesn't really know what's going on. But we come to find out where he's brought to is actually a good place. And it's one of the original founders of this website. He's the only one who's left, the last survivor. Our main guy died like way back in like issue 4, issue 5. He had a contingency plan in case the world went to shit and he wasn't able to contain it, had these grand ideas of here's what we can do. All of those have since failed. So he hasn't been able, or the world hasn't been able to revert back or stop this contagion from spreading, and from people going to the website. And so basically he explains to the guy like, hey, we tried. Gabriel, which is the name of the main guy, wanted us to bring it all back. I don't really see that happening for us. So I'm going to try a completely different method. And, this other guy who tagged everything, he's kind of still believes in Gabriel's vision. And I guess that has gotten out to the greater world, probably from some of the other original group members that are no longer here. But he's like, it's just not going to work. We can't do anything about it. The best that we can do now is just try to like hang out and ride it out and make the best of it. So it's like 200 people he has in this cave. He's trying to recreate the internet, and it has like this big old server farm. And rather than like you have an ISP and then you go on and then you pay and like all the venture capital and everything that we live in today's society, it's just this free open internet that existed back in 2025 and the subsequent years, and he's trying to just rebuild that. People can just be entertained, smoke a bunch of weed, because that's literally what he refers to, of like growing it, and just like live their lives like, yes, it's going to be in this tunnel, but it's better than the alternative, which is like struggling up on the surface side. And so the end of the issue, you find out that Sammy is still alive at this time. Maybe she's like 40 or 50 years old at this point. And so she, I guess, has taken over the world. That's the assumption. And that's all the detail that we're really given here. So that is the big reason why I didn't like it, is we go into the future and we still have so many questions unanswered in these first 13 issues. There's been some non-linear storytelling throughout, so I'm not, miffed by that. Like, that's fine, whatever. But now this is a brand new part of the story that we're brought into 14 issues in. I'm like, I still have a million questions that need to get answered. Now you've added 1,100,000. Like, and I would just prefer more of the current world that's already been built out. Let's flush that out and answer those questions before we just add in, more questions for the reader. That's just my take on it. So let's get into the art here, which is pretty good. I do enjoy World Tree's art. It is like very shocking, very gory, very over the top. So if I 2049, so I was right on the year. So here's like basically the thing, right? But they like transform into these things. It's so weird and bizarre. So yeah, it's pretty wild. Hopefully YouTube doesn't catch me for any of the nudity on this, but TBD. But yeah, here's, where he meets, I think Saito is how you would pronounce his name. And he's basically explaining what's going on here. And then here's everyone in the underground trying to build out the internet, everyone hanging out here. So yeah, it's an interesting turn. I want to see it kind of go back to where it was before, but that's remains to be seen. We shall see. So that's World Tree number 14. Is this the time to jump in? Absolutely not. It is way too crazy. You probably need to jump in, I don't know, maybe issue 10. I think that might be a good pot. Maybe 11. Around there if you can find that. Next up here we have is One World Under Doom number 4. And this one, I actually think, if I would have read this last week, I think this would have won the interior art. I gave it to Peach Momoko for her Ultimate X-Men. But the art in this is pretty wild. I just didn't expect it to be that way. But this issue here, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.3. Very, very good. It's just a fight. That's what we have here. So we have Doom as the Sorcerer Supreme taking on Dormammu, and he's a big rival of Doctor Strange, if you're not super familiar. But now, since Doom is Sorcerer Supreme, he's basically fighting a lot of the enemies that Doctor Strange would typically take on. So for the story here, Doom has become the Sorcerer Supreme from the Blood Hunt event. He not even really tricked. He basically convinced Doctor Strange that the only way to save everyone, because Strange was dead at the time, was if you give me the Sorcerer Supreme power, I'm able to then stop everything that needs to be stopped, from Blade and the vampire that was taking over. And Strange thought it out, and he's like, he's right, this is the only way that we could do this. But Doom, you're going to give back the power, right? And of course, Doom did not give back the power. Now we're in a position where Doom has taken over the entire world, but he's actually doing really good for the whole world. Free healthcare, like all the obvious stuff that needs to get done. No wars, no fighting. People have education, right? All the like common stuff that shouldn't be controversial at all. Like the whole world has it. And so the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, everyone is like, what the heck? Like, this has to be something crazy that's gone on here for him to do this. All the world leaders have to be Doombots. Everyone's under some sort of spell because he's Sorcerer Supreme. Come to find out, no, all he did was clone himself, hundreds of times, literally just negotiated with all these world leaders, and they all, on their own free will, cut some sort of deal that made Doom Sorcerer Supreme and leader of the world. And so now you have one world under Doom. But Dormammu in the last issue is like, this isn't how the Sorcerer Supreme should be. He's doing it all wrong. I'm going after him. So he leaves from his dark portal dimension and he goes and he fights off Doom. So that is this whole issue, and it's just a fight. It's just a fight scene back and forth. The Avengers and Fantastic Four were banished to some other realm, and Doom, he fights Dormammu, because we don't get to that point, in 3 spells, which is like the most wildest thing ever. The first spell, I think, was like it was some sort of distortion thing that he did to Dormammu, and he got the advantage. From there, Dormammu was like, screw it, I'm not playing nice anymore, and uses basically full power. And at that point, he got Doom tied down. He had a whole bunch of demons that went after him, has him pinned down underwater. Doom like nearly suffocates and chokes to death, and actually has a moment where he thinks that he's failed and he's lost here. Dormammu breaks one of his legs, breaks one of his arms, and then Doom is barely able to just get out of the water, and I think that was like the first spell. Then the second spell, Dormammu's coming in and about to punch Doom in the face, and like literally this punch is a falcon punch, like he will kill him is how it is basically described. So the Doom's second spell is this disengage, basically it's a time distortion, and he's literally just able to back up and just miss the punch. And then it's the third spell, and the third spell, he said, I already did that a while back. And what he did is when all the Avengers and the Fantastic Four were banished at the same time, he sent the same equal number of Doombots into this realm as well. And wherever this realm is, his Doombots are working in tandem with the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and anyone else that was in there in order to fight and get out. And so that way he's already built up the goodwill that, yes, the Doombots are clearly on your side. We're fighting against a common enemy here. And when you get out, we got to team together and fight this big bad. And sure enough, at the very end of the issue, everyone comes out of whatever this realm is just in time with the Doombots, and they all are just ready to go on their side to fight Dormammu and his legion of demons. Freaking awesome. So cool. Let's hop into the art because it is truly fantastic. Pun intended, because there's Fantastic Four, obviously, with Doom. So here are the art panels and everything. As you can see, like high saturation, right? And like just a bunch of explosions. Awesome splash page that you have here, right? It is just action-packed, this whole thing, which was awesome. And you get the classic like Doom one-liners in here as well. So those are all excellent, right? Like, just look at this with the explosions and everything, man. It's like, man, it is so good. And then we'll flip towards the end here. Basically where we have this is the disengage that Doom does, like just such a simple thing. But let's flip to the end where Doom has summoned everyone out of that additional realm with his Doombots as well, and that's him on like a stretcher thing, broken leg. I think this is the broken arm as well. It's like, man, dude, Doom is so cool. So that is One World Under Doom. Again, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.3. I honestly, this is close for comic of this episode as well. I'm loving this series. It's not the time to jump in. We're so far into the event that at this point, just wait for it all to wrap up and then just get the trade would be my recommendation. And again, if you're new to comics, trade is just basically a collection of all the single issues in a volume. And it could be anywhere from like 4 to like 7. I've seen it could be more, but that's usually the range that you'll see them in. And so you can just have the one full story all compact into one book. You know, I get it. Sometimes that makes it a lot easier for the reading experience and you don't have to hunt down other stuff. I am partial to the singles. I like the singles. It's just nice, compact story. Boom, get through it. And that's the chapter that we read for the day. So anyways, that's One World Under Doom, number 4. Next up here we have is the Immortal Thor, number 23. This, I didn't realize how close we're getting to the end here, but we're getting like danger close. It is, I gave this a 4, Lee gave it a 4.1. We have 2 more after this. So the next one they're hinting at is like the big fight against whoever the big bad is, which I guess is the Utgard. Loki is who we're going after here. And then 25 is just basically wrapping it up. But, and big spoilers if you don't want to know, so don't come at me, just I'm letting you know. We're hinting at in the next issue, in issue 24, Thor is likely going to die. And then 25 is like what's all happening afterwards. And, you know, none of these people stay dead forever, right? It's just, it's part of the game. But that's what we're getting at, right? That's kind of been the whole crux of the thing. That's this wheel just keeps turning and then it's like fate and destiny just kind of keeps going. But for this issue here, we have Thor. He is with Scourge. And Scourge is like kind of a tortured soul, just always sent really to his death and to be sacrificed. And so here he's now actually working with Thor for this, and it seems like he may just have to ultimately sacrifice himself. Thor on this final adventure wanted to just go at it his own, but Scourge said, I want to actually matter in my death this time, and so either you kill me right here, Thor, or I'm going with you. And Thor decided, you know what, come with me, because either way you're dead. Is basically what he decided. And so now they're in Utgard, which is like kind of a separate realm from Asgard for sure, and Midgard too. And a lot of these beings are just a lot more powerful, and they don't abide by like the same rules. Not that really Asgard and Midgard do, but they kind of do. Utgard is like a totally different beast, just a lot more powerful. And we're going after the Utgard Loki, right? So obviously Thor and Loki are just big rivals. So imagine the Utgard is just like one step above of like the actual Loki. But basically for this issue, we're trying to get towards the center of a maze, as you can see from the cover. And we've gotten to the center, and that is where we find Heimdall, who was kidnapped. I almost said stolen, but kidnapped. And so they finally got to the center along with Hermod. And Hermod was the one who basically sought for Thor. We got to find Heimdall. So it's Thor, Scourge, Hermod, who are trying to save Heimdall. And as they get to the middle, they run into a Minotaur. It's like an enormous Minotaur. And what is his name? I definitely jotted that down in the note. I want to say it's Kamar. Immortal Thor. Number 23. Kamur. Kemur. And his place in Norse mythology is it takes place like before the time of Odin and Thor and all of them. He was God among gods before there were thrones. So a good way to, and he was even like before like Gaia, who is Thor's mother. So a good way to, if you want like a Greek comparison, right? He's one of the Titans is a way to describe him. But the way that they describe him in this book, he's even before the Titans. Right, like he is just like the original, like the alpha is the way to describe it, and so that seems like a difficult challenge, as you can imagine, right? Like how are we going to go after this guy? And so Thor was fighting, seems hopeless, and basically what he comes up with is like, well, just like any other god, how do you stop them or defeat them? Well, you just stop believing in them. You stop believing that they're as powerful as they claim to be. You stop believing in the myths. And then once you stop believing that they have this power, suddenly they don't have that power over you. And that's basically what he does. And so with conviction, it says, you're not as strong as you claim you are, and you're not who you claim you are. And suddenly the Minotaur like actually starts to sense fear. And he's like, oh my gosh, wait, he actually truly believes this. And since he believes it, I have no effect on him. And basically gets the Minotaur to the point of where he's very weak. Hermod, Scourge, and Thor take advantage of that. But what happens at the very end is there's a green arrow that just goes flying through the air, strikes Kamor either in the head, in the chest, something, strikes him down. And everyone's like, what the hell was that? They turn back. It is our Loki, who was banished from the realms. And Thor's like, I thought I banished you. How the hell are you here? He's like, well, you didn't banish me in Utgard, and yet I still am here. And so now he's going to be part of whatever this next final battle is. I imagine going against the Utgard Loki. So now we have the whole gang together going after a Loki of a different realm, which is pretty cool. So we'll see what happens in the next issue, but it's an interesting story. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. We'll get into some of the art here. So you got, the Minotaur with the battle axe here and everything, like pretty dope. And then we have, the fights and the battles. It's standard looking Thor. I think the art is better than most of the Marvel stuff, I'd say, like a step above. It is going to be very sing-songy Norse style of writing, as Immortal Thor has always kind of been. But I've been enjoying it this entire ride. I'm actually kind of glad it's coming to an end. As you can imagine, 24 books, right? That's a lot to be, and there's Loki at the end here. It's basically 2 years of reading this book, and I've mentioned it before, but I will say it again. I'm trying to get to a point where I pare down the number of pulls to be a little bit more appropriate, where it's like $50 or less. Maybe it's more of like 10 to 15 books, right? So maybe I'll have some backlogs in there, but at most part, I'm just getting the books, reading all of them, and then Omega is like truly just backlog moving forward. And so this has been a long-going series. For this to fall off the pull list, that does help that tremendously. I have another one I'm thinking about. Incredible Hulk is kind of getting to that point as well. Similar number of issues there too. So I've enjoyed it. It's been a great ride. Excited to check out some different stuff as well. So anyways, Immortal Thor, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. Is this the time to jump in? Obviously not. It's 23. They're going to do 25. Like, no, just wait for the trades. Get the trades. I'd say start off with trade number 1. That does set up an awesome pace for what Immortal Thor is. If you like that, then continue. But you'll get a bulk of it in that first one, and you'll know right off the bat if I want to continue with this or not. I will say there are peaks and valleys throughout this. 1 is certainly good. Volume 2 is probably maybe, I think, just as good, actually. When you get into the Enchantress stuff and you get to the Rexon, that's good. Then after that, I think that's where it kind of tapers off, and then we're picking up towards the end here. So the first half or so is great. Then like the middle third, not so great. And then this last quartile seems to be pretty good, is the way that I would break it out. Next, we have Batman the Brave and the Bold, number 8. So remember, this is our anthology series. So we have 4 mini short stories that are all in this book. So I gave this one a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.8. Unfortunately, the Brave and the Bold have just been suffering, in my opinion. The variability in the quality of the short stories is too volatile. There's like too many times it's like, this story is incredible, this story sucks, this story is awesome, this story sucks, this story sucks, this story is okay, and you never know what you're going to get. It's not consistent of like, okay, these are the books that were part 1, and then the next book we'll all get the part 2s, and then the next book, then the part 3s. It's like part 1 here, then another story, well, part 1 there, then one of the other stories is a part 2 of the one, it just jumps all around. It's kind of unfortunate. And so this one, I think, kind of suffers that same thing. We have 4 in here. Let's flip to the inside cover. I'll show you the main, so you can see that there. But it is 4 parts that we have here. So Batman Pygmalion Part 3. Then we have Wild Dog, Here Comes the Trouble Part 2. Aquaman Communion Part 2. And then Angels in the Architecture, which is just a one-off. Usually the last one is just a one and done. So for Pygmalion being a part 3, basically that one and that is the end of that one. We have a guy, he has amnesia, he thinks he's Batman, find out he's not Batman, but he was in the Bat Cave, and there he was trying to steal the cowl of Batman for some sort of bad guy, and basically he either fell or got hurt or something happened to where he got amnesia. The single mom and daughter took him in, who was saved by the actual Batman a couple months earlier, and so he was dressed as Batman. She figured he was Batman. She's a nurse, healed him up, and he's trying to learn the ropes. And this whole time, like, there are elements that he has of Batman, like being able to fight because he's like an ex-military guy, but he doesn't have the why as to like why he's doing this. We get some flashbacks to someone dying with the pearls, and so you assume it's the mother, but it's like a totally different story that's unrelated. Issue or part 2, you come to realize he's not Batman. He's summoned to Gotham PD from the Bat Signal. He shows up and they arrest him. He's like, the heck's going on? The actual Bruce Wayne Batman shows up. It's like, you're not who you think you are, and here's what's actually happening. And as that happens, the single mom and the daughter are attacked. And that was how part 2 ended. Part 3 picks up. They're heading towards where they're attacked, which is basically in their home. So their apartment complex is being attacked by a bunch of goons. It's Scarface here. That's like the crazy guy with the puppet on him. And all of his goons are taking over this building for XYZ reason. So Batman, our Batman, Bruce, and the imposter, his name's Frank. So they come up with a plan on how they're going to distract him. Bruce actually is going to go in and do a lot of the heavy lifting, while Frank just goes up onto the roof, basically, or through the fire escape and trying to get people out. So it starts off that way, and then it gets to the point where a lot of the goons are defeated, but then Frank is trying to help out the daughter through the fire escape, but Scarface is there. Remember, he's just like an old guy with a puppet, and he doesn't realize who this is, that he's like actually the villain that's running this whole operation. They end up on the roof. Frank starts getting his ass kicked out of him from some additional goons that were up there, and it's like there's nothing he can really do about it. Batman then actually shows up. He gets on top of the roof and he's able to beat everyone off, but Frank is like pretty hurt at this point. And then the mother, she ends up there as well. So it looks like that everyone's defeated. The daughter actually got the puppet off the old man's hand, threw it down to the ground, but he wasn't fully severed away from the puppet that like kind of controls him and has him these delusional things that he feels like he needs to do. He had a phone, and the phone also triggered like the same reaction. And so the phone, I guess, linked up to a bomb that was on the roof. That explodes. Everyone comes falling off. Batman goes to save Frank. He's able to. Saves the mother. He's able to, but he's not able to get to the daughter. And it looks like she's about to fall to her death. Catwoman was seeing the whole thing. She comes in, saves the day, and everything is great and good. Scarface goes to Arkham Asylum. Batman, Catwoman, they kind of go their separate ways. Frank looks like he's with the nurse lady, which is good. Daughter's happy. Everyone lives happily ever after. Bing, bang, boom. All squared away. All done. Fine little story. That's part or 1 of 4. Next story that we have here is Wild Dog. Is that it? Wild Dog? I just said it. I know it's something generic, but they did that on purpose. That's like part of the joke. Yes, Wild Dog. Here Comes the Trouble Part 2. So Wild Dog is very Peacemaker-like in that it's like trying to be funny and like kind of a low-rate hero in this like random Midwest town. So he is trying to figure out there's this supervillain in their town recruiting a bunch of goons, and he's trying to put a stop to it. So he's in a diner where he knows this guy is part of all these gangs and definitely knows where the gang leaders are meeting to talk about this supervillain. And he wants to know where that meeting is, so he beats him down. He gets the information. From there, we come to find out he was like a big football star, so he's like invited to this thing, and like he is friends with the police commissioner of the town. They're trying to get everyone to like, hey, I know where the meeting spot's going to be. I know this is going to happen. And the guy's like, yeah, I can't ruin my reputation. Plus, you sound a little bit crazy. That's not going to happen. He's like, fine. I'm just going to go as Wild Dog out there, and we'll see what happens. Then the meeting does take place, like he said. It is like 5 different leaders are talking about what to do about this villain. The villain really reveals himself. His name's Gizmo, and he basically explains everything that's going on and how exactly this is all going to go down. And from there, oh, wow, this is insane. Sorry, I just saw that the Knicks actually lost that game. Oh my gosh. I flipped it over to the hockey game to have in the background. Anyways, with that, now it's in overtime because his foot was on the thing. Oh man, I am watching the wrong thing here, folks. Let me flip over to this real quick. I may cut this out. I may just leave it in. But I was like so convinced that they were going to win. It looks like the overtime's done anyways. All right, anyways, let's get back to the game. So the meeting's happening. Gizmo. So Gizmo does reveal himself, and he's like, yeah, I can't make it in the big cities like Gotham and Metropolis, right? I just can't do it because there's always someone to stop me. But here in a no-name town, like clearly I'm way smarter than everyone. It's going to be fine. And all the gang members are like, really, you're going to be that cocky about it? We're all going to attack. And as he says that, Gizmo and his goons have basically taken out all the other gang's goons. And it was like, yeah, see, like I told you, this is light work for me, no problem. And then a report comes in that one of their guys is down. It was actually Wild Dog. He took out one of them. So Gizmo then comes out there and is like, the hell are you doing, dude? You got 0 shot, and you pissed me off by taking out one of my guys. So he beats down Wild Dog really quickly. And when he does that, he basically looks down at him and he's like, I could kill you right now, but I want to keep you alive to send a message so that everyone knows moving forward, here's what I'm capable of and a lot more. And that's the cliffhanger we left off on, which is actually pretty cool at the end there. So there's that one. Next up for Aquaman Communion, not that great, to be honest. We are in some random weird laboratory underwater. Aquaman noticed that the fish were being like drawn to it, paralyzed and like dying there. Not good. So he heads into the lab and then he comes and finds out. I thought it was Gorilla Grodd, but it's not. He reveals himself as some sort of scientist named Kanar. And he's in there because basically for the Gorilla Islands, I think is what it is, part of the newer generation was like, we don't want to follow these traditions that are laid out in front of us. So by not doing that, we wanted to conduct our own scientific experiments to understand where our intellect came from. Was it from aliens? Was it from some higher power? Was it where we experimented on? What happened? And any of that research was illegal. So they put this random base in the ocean. And with that research, they communicated with some aliens. Some aliens communicated back. And for whatever reason, they thought it would be a good idea to summon them there. And then sure enough, the aliens were very powerful and were like, you are going to bow down to us. And that's what they did. And they took it all over. So he's like, yeah, everyone here is dead. I'm the last one. Thank God you showed up. We got to do something. So they devise a plan. And we have to do something because now the aliens are going to now send themselves to Gorilla Island and then take that over as well. So Aquaman and Kanar come up with a plan. There's two power systems. One's the main power, one's the backup, disconnected at the same time. And now they won't be able to do anything for a long enough period of time that they can help and get more reinforcements and take out all these aliens before they get transported to the island. Good plan, except they get caught in the middle of it. And so what Kanar decides to do is they have like guns and stuff. So they're shooting. Kanar gets shot. And he's like last ditch. He hits something on a control panel. And that then blasts Aquaman to the island. And he shows up there. And then that's the cliffhanger. So I'm sure he's going to recruit everyone to, hey, you got this alien invasion we got to take care of. So there's that one. Then the last one is this architecture kids one. It is so weird. It doesn't make any sense. We have these kids with these terminal illnesses that are like dying. And as they are dying in these like exoskeletons, it's like, what is going on with these things? They are military grade exoskeleton suits. And for whatever reason, they were stripped out all these other components that the military used them for, but they're like being overridden, and then these kids are either getting stuck in there, or it's like forcing them to do things that they shouldn't be doing, and they go like crazy, and then they're like jumping out of windows and like dying. It's bizarre and strange. And so Batman's like, okay, well, like we got to stop this, and like they're like, we can't. And so these kids, they like, that's it. They just basically have died, and there's nothing Batman can do about it. It's so weird. It's so bizarre. It's all in black and white too, and it's very hard to read. It's borderline terrible. It's like, if this was an independent comic of itself and I just read this alone, that's like a 2.5. It's like that bad. So I just can't even explain what's going on. I don't even know how this could have possibly gotten past the sniff test for putting this into this book. It's just bad. It's very, very bad. So I can't explain it any further. So that's why I came with the 3.5. That one brought it down so much. Aquaman Communion was fine. Pygmalion is good. I enjoyed that. And then the Wild Dog thing is like fun. So we can mix it all together. 3.5 it is. Let's flip to the art. Art is interesting here. Throughout different styles, right? So because you have so many different books that you have involved in here. So we have here part of the Pygmalion. Then we get to the Wild Dog piece, which is listed out here. And then some more of that as well. We get to Aquaman and his whole bag that he's doing for Aquaman Communion, and then the black and white portion here for the architecture one. So yeah, that's the Brave and the Bold. Definitely not the time to jump in, and it's all done. This is a backlog, so it is complete if you want to find some of these, but I'd say overall these are skips. They truly are, unless you're like truly just trying to get something like bang for my buck. But I'd say not worth it, in my opinion. So from one DC backlog to another then, we have One Bad Day, Mr. Freeze, number 1. This came out a long time ago, 2022. But I wanted to get the whole collection, so I'm just kind of reading through them. I think there's like 8 of them in total. And so we are at now Mr. Freeze. And these are One Bad Day. It's like one villain, one day, basically, is what it's supposed to take the span of. Although I feel like this one for sure took more than just one day, but either way, that's the concept that you have here. And so I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. For the story itself, it's long, but it's very simple and plain Jane, which is the biggest reason as to why it's only 4 and not a 4.5, in my opinion. It's the exact same story that you know for Freeze, and the reason why he is. So his wife got sick, died. He's trying to freeze her, trying to find a cure, so then he can bring her back. It's been like the whole premise of his story from the beginning, right? So no change there, and that's exactly what you have here as well. The difference is Robin, and Batman has a Robin for this one, as some of them he doesn't. So he has Robin, and they're talking about basically how can we change these villains? Like, are any of them going to change, or are we just going to live in this cycle, right? Are we going to rehabilitate any of them? Are any of them even worth saving? So, Batman thinks on it. He's like, there's one, Mr. Freeze. I think everyone else is like kind of a psycho, basically. But Freeze, he's actually just a tortured soul based on, his backstory. And so as he talks through that, Robin's like, okay, well, let's try to do something about it. And so they meet up. Freeze is like trying to rob something or whatever. And they're like, hey, we're giving you a second chance here. We've set up a lab for you. You can do all your research that you need to. And you can do it with the funding behind, Wayne Foundation Enterprises, whatever it is. And then you're able to now work on bringing back Nora. So you don't have to keep stealing stuff and being a villain. And so they're like, okay, that's cool. Freeze, do your thing. He does. And we just basically learn more and more. That it was never really about his wife. It's always about him kind of just being in control and being almost like afraid that he's not even able to do it. And basically find out that he gets pissed off, that whatever trial he goes for fails, destroys the lab entirely, and now he's off in the wild. And so Batman and Robin, of course, have to go after him. And they basically, Batman is just straight up with him. It's like, dude, you basically have to get over and move past it. We've all lost people. It is what it is. Tragic, unfortunate. But, and Freeze kind of does start to realize that. And it's actually Robin is the one that beats Freeze in the end here. And I think in the end, Freeze realizes, you were right. It's time for me to let go. And that's basically how it closes up. So it's just kind of a plain Jane, simple story, to be honest with you. Nothing too crazy, nothing over the top. I think it was done well, but not super great. Not bad either. If you just want a good origin Freeze story that all wraps it up in one book, this is it. So that's the only reason I'd recommend it, or just get the whole set just to say you have the set. But this is just fine. Nothing crazy here. So for the arts, we'll flip to that. And all these ones, I don't think they have any advertising in them. And so they're a little more expensive because of that. And again, they're a lot longer. But the art's pretty cool, I'd say, for this. So that's what you're looking at here. You get some more detail on Freeze. And then the fight towards the end here, which is pretty good. So that is Batman One Bad Day, Mr. Freeze. Number 1, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. All right, we have 4 more books here. So we have Huck, the Big Bad World. This one, man, I feel sad for this one because I just feel like this is going to break my heart. This is what this is going to be. So we have Huck here, as you can see on the screen. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. It is a good book for sure. This was part of last week's polls as well. And so we have Huck, and the book actually starts off with his mother. When she was a kid, she was in the forest with a bunch of friends. There was a random house that somehow showed up. They enter it. There's a witch in there, and she drinks something from the witch, and now she has superpowers. And then she has a child. Fast forward to the future. She has a child. His name's Huck. He has superpowers as well. So Huck's superpowers is he can find anyone in the world as long as he has, I think, their name. I think that's the only information that he needs. So he's out. There's these sailors lost at sea. He knows their names, and he goes and he literally finds them lost at sea, right? The mother, she has some superpowers too, but honestly, I don't remember what they are, and they're not super important. But while Huck is away and he's out at sea, some random guy shows up at her doorstep and was like, hey, here's what happened to me. I was in an accident or something and a superhero saved me, and I meant to ask her what her name was, but I never did. I want to find out who she is, and I want to thank her for everything that she did because she saved my life, and I want that opportunity. I've looked. I wasn't able to find her. Then I heard about your son who can find anyone. And he's like, I don't know her name, obviously, but I have X, Y, and Z different thing, and these are probably people, and I have the names of other superheroes that are like you, and so maybe one of them knows the name of her. So like, can you help me find her that way? So she's like, okay, like we'll ask Huck if he wants to do it. It's fine. It's really up to him. And he's like kind of like teenage, young adult age. But I wonder if Huck like maybe has some sort of learning disability, and the way that they describe him makes me feel that way. And so Huck, he comes back and he's dating this girl. So he's dating this girl from high school, and she has a kid, like a very young child. And towards the end of this book, it turns out the baby daddy shows up back in life, and rather than staying with Huck, she's like, well, he wants to be more in his life, and he actually came back. I want to give him a second chance. I'm actually just going to go with him. And he's about to take them out on the road. I think he's like a artist or something like that, and touring or whatever. And breaks Huck's heart, basically, right? Here he is trying to do good by her and all this stuff, and then this is what happens to him. So that all happens. Then, Huck comes home. Mom explains the situation of what's happening there. The guy's like, hey, I understand you're going through whatever it is you're going through. Take as much time as you need. Huck goes into a cornfield, thinks about it. He's like, all right, I'm going to help you out. And that's the end of the book. So very sad and disappointed for poor old Huck here. And it's like, what's all going to happen? My hunch on this, the guy who we're trying to help is somehow bad in some way, shape, or form. So like, it's just going to be a whole world that's just screwing over Huck this entire time. And I can already tell that Huck is such a sweetheart, and it is going to break me at the end of this. I can just tell. Oh, it's just gonna, I just know it. And Dark Horse is like known for just like hitting you in the feels sometimes. So flipping through the art now here. Flip it over to our overhead camera as well. So, this is Huck saving those sailors, and he's like, hey, I found you, and I brought some sandwiches, thought you guys might be hungry. So it's like all this kind of stuff too. So this is where the guy was saved. I guess, it was a car accident, and she saved him when he was in the water. Then he basically wants to find her. So now here we have basically the part of like Huck coming back, and then the guy who's leaving with his girlfriend and now ex-girlfriend, him in the cornfield, and then he decides that he's going to do it. So, yeah, that's Huck the Big Bad World, man. I could tell it's going to be a sad one. That's my hunch. That's my guess. Is it the time to jump in? For sure. It's number one, guys. Like, of course. Of course it's time to jump in. And it's well written. I like it. Interesting premise. But I just have a feeling I'm going to be crying at the end of this one. That is my guess. So now we got Storm, number 2. Flip over to this. Oh, and again, Huck, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. So it's a good book. Storm, number 2. I gave it a 4.1. Lee gave that... Oh, sorry. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. So very good issue here. This is a backlog as well. Came out November 2024. So, what is that? 6 months or so ago? Not quite. Someone math that out. Yeah, 6 months, I guess. And this book, almost to the day. Yeah, you can tell I'm tired. I'm running on E at this point. This book picks up from the last one, where basically there was a nuclear power plant that was destroyed. And what we find out is that there was a mutant that discovered their powers. At first, we thought, this was didn't have to do with the mutant itself. It actually had to do with the power plant, like, screwing up some way, somehow. So the scientist, not the mutant's fault. Come to find out, it actually is likely the mutant's fault and not the scientist's fault. So there's this like big, political debate, as there always is. Like, are the X-Men, are they good? Are they bad? Like, how is public sentiment about them? This, that, and the other. But on top of all of that, Storm, by going through all this nuclear waste and radiation, she's developed some sort of radiation poisoning. So that's what she's trying to figure out, is what exactly is this, what's going on. So she links up with a doctor that basically takes care of a bunch of metahumans, supers, mutant gene, so on and so forth. So she goes to this doctor. Doctor doesn't want to treat her at first. Basically says, I treat everyone but the X-Men. And she's like, well, what the hell does that mean? Is it because of I'm a mutant, or is it because I'm black, basically? And he's like, no, it has nothing to do with you being a mutant. I'm a mutant myself, and it certainly has nothing to do with you being black. It's specifically the X-Men. And he goes on to explain that, like, the X-Men have screwed him over time and time again. The Avengers and everyone else gives him money, but the X-Men do not. And so he's like, oh, if that's all it is. And you can see it on the cover here. She has this little pendant. She's like, this was my mother's pendant. I can offer you this. That's, like, the most valuable thing I have on me right now. And so he's basically like, okay, I'll treat you. It's like, okay, weird little bribery thing, but he does. So he's like, yeah, let me take a look. And he's like, oh, well, my mutant power is I can actually just diagnose you, so I already know what it is. You are dying from this radiation poisoning, but it's nothing like we've ever seen before on Earth, and nobody here can cure it. There's only one person that can. And by the way, you're going to die in literally 6 hours, so you better hurry. And he just whisks her off. So now Storm is going like in between realities and galaxies, all in the span of like 6 hours, till she finds who she's looking for, which is Dr. Voodoo. And he's, I think, a big part of the Doctor Strange kind of world and, kind of universe of heroes and stuff, who's now going to help out Storm. And it seems like he does have the answer on how to solve this whole radiation thing for Storm. So yeah, that is the story. Pretty cool. Well done. The art, though, is killer on this. Let's flip over to the big cam. I'd say that's probably the shining piece on this, right? Like, just look at the detail on this. Who's on this again? Warnick is the artist here. Right, so awesome shots that you have from her here. This is towards the beginning, where basically she's just running a mission and just starting to realize that she has that radiation poisoning. This is her going to the doctor, which is like hidden as looks like some sort of swamp thing. So that's the doctor there. Here's where they're basically trying to barter for her necklace, as you can see right here. And then here's her starting to travel through everything. I mean, Marvel, man, just so many ads. Awesome splash page here that you have. So yeah, it's a cool book. I'm enjoying it. I think I just picked up Storm recently. I think we're on number 8, I want to say. So it's probably a full trade that's already been complete at this point. Not the time to jump in for number 2. But from what I've been reading, and I can't say of the recent ones, from what I've been reading, this is worth it. If you're into X-Men, if you're into Storm, might be good to go. But things may have changed. So bear that in mind. But from where I sit and where I stand and have read 1 through 2, I say that out loud. It's like 1 through 2, but I like it. I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm curious to see where it goes. So that is Storm number 2. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. Well, we're almost there. 2 more. Miles Morales Spider-Man number 14. This is a backlog. This is midway through Gang War, which already took place. Came out December 27th, 2023, so a while back. Coming up on a year and a half at this point. And this is good. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. I could see going a 3.5, but that felt like maybe a little bit too low of a score, so I didn't actually do that. It's more of a 4 than anything, but it's kind of a weaker one in my opinion. So Miles is, just fought off kind of like a minor villain in Frozen Pharaoh, and he did that with Misty Knight and with Colleen, and the Cape Killers then showed up. So the Cape Killers are basically like a Suicide Squad light version that Gao has put together, and Agent Gao is like a law enforcement agent, and so Miles is supposed to be part of this group as well, and supposed to have a close watchful eye on him basically at all times. And so Gao was like, hey, you're out here doing stuff we don't like, we got to bring you in. And as that happens, he's like, screw it, I'm calling the other Spider-Man. And the other Spider-Man is with She-Hulk. She-Hulk, of course, is a lawyer, and She-Hulk's like, hey, I need to explain this to you. Luke Cage lifted all this stuff as Gang Wars is going on, so he's exempt from this. And Gao's like, you know what, fine, I don't want to deal with it, but Misty Knight and Colleen are not, so I'm bringing them in. And sure enough, they're like, well, fine. We're going to get sprung out anyways, but you have your low power trip gal. And so as that happens, they're removed now, and it's Hightail who takes them to be processed. So now it's just Miles, it's Scorpion, and it's this new hero, Gust, who's like new to the Cape Killer Squad. So that all takes place. Then elsewhere, Hobgoblin, who's like one of Miles's main villains and part of this whole gang war thing, he's recruited Prowler, which is Miles's uncle. If you've seen the first movie, Into the Spider-Verse, then and then he recruits a bunch of goons, and they have this newer technology that's going to help them take over the turf war, basically. So they go out and they attack Miles, Scorpion, and Gus. So those three are working together to take out these goons and to take out Prowler. Hobgoblin is just not there. So it's Prowler and Miles mostly fighting each other, and then it's Gus and Scorpion fighting off the other goons. And Miles notices the new technology. He sees the pumpkin. It's like, okay, you're obviously working with Hobgoblin, but Prowler, you and I, we squashed this stuff with our families and everything. Like, what could possibly be happening now? And Prowler just won't say, all right? And they're fighting. The quips are going back and forth, but Prowler won't say. And we don't really find out in this issue. But it gets to the point where Miles is looking beat down, like they're outnumbered because just three of the goons plus Prowler, and it's just Miles, Gus, who's like brand new, just learned her powers type deal, and Scorpion, who's like, classic always fodder. And so as it looks like they're getting beat, Starling, who is Miles's girlfriend, was out trying to recruit some people. So she got Swift, which is a clone of Miles who lives in the sewers. He's like a big, like hulking Venom looking dude, gets him. And then also was recruiting someone else who's revealed in the very last page, Miss Marvel, who has joined the fight as well, who Miles has had a crush on as well in other issues and in other universes. I don't know if that's still the same here, what the history is going to be, but we'll see, because he's dating Starling right now, which is interesting. So, yeah, interesting little issue. We just really need to know what's going on with Prowler, and then now with Miss Marvel entering the scene, how is that going to affect the overall relationships that are taking place presently. So, let's flip to the art here. And Miles Morales has always killed it on the art. I've mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. Like, the paneling and the way that they overlap everything is pretty cool. And it's always very action-focused, and that's consistent pretty much across the board on all of the Miles Morales books, and so no stranger here. And you can see Swift here, right? Like, he's just Shift. I was like, nah, he's not Swifty. That doesn't sound right. Shift. And so we have some more of the fighting that's basically taking place here. And then let's flip a few down. Prowler, standing tall over Miles. Miles kind of holding his ground. And then so you see kind of like the overlapping pieces. It's not like that standard, grid and square. Same goes for here. And that's like been the way Miles has been throughout. And then here we go. Miss Marvel introduced at the end here, which is cool. So that is Miles Morales Spider-Man number 14. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. And then last but not least, we have Outsiders number 8. So this is coming towards the end here on the Outsiders. This is an 11-part series. League gave it a 3.7. I gave it a 4. I could see going lower in on it. And honestly, when I was rereading my notes, I was like, maybe a 4 is a little bit too high on this one. This is a totally different story taking place than everything else that has happened up this far. To a certain extent, it feels like Monster of the Week, which is how the first 5 or 6 issues started. No, first 5 issues, and then 6 and 7 is where things kind of took a turn, where things got very meta. And now this one seems like we're back to that Monster of the Week. So we basically have Batwoman. She's called to Texas. There's some random anomaly going on. We find this girl, Jenny, who has this gun, and she's killing all these ghosts. And so Batwoman is caught up in this as well. Find out that these ghosts are tied to this specific revolver. And so Batwoman gives her some extra time. They end up in like some mechanic shop. There's some random salt there. Maybe they have the salt the roads, but it's Texas, so that doesn't really make any sense. But she throws all this salt on these ghosts, and I guess that temporarily disables them, banishes them. I don't know what the word to use is. but they can't come back as quickly as they were regenerating previously. And so they talk this through a little bit as to what's going on. Jenny explains that, every time she kills these ghosts, they just keep coming back. And so I'm like forced to just constantly just kill them with this revolver. It never runs out of ammo or anything like that. But if they touch me, I think I'm dead. And then another ghost comes in, but this is like the original ghost, and he explains the backstory of this gun. Basically, it's cursed. He held it before, and basically you do need to just constantly keep killing. Otherwise, if it touches you, it kills you, and then like it'll destroy the world type of situation. And Jenny explains that she got the gun because there was some burglar in the house. She just reached for the first gun that she could, and before she even could think, she shot, and then to defend herself. But now she has this curse. And so Batwoman's like, damn, that sucks. I'm going to grab the gun, and now I'm going to bear this curse, and you're free to go, Jenny. Let me deal with this. And that's it. And that's how it ends. So that's kind of why I think people probably rated it lower, because they're like, what the hell does this have to do with any of the other stuff that previously happened or took place? But for me, I'm kind of interested to see how it goes, and maybe this is like kind of the last big arc before we close things out on issue 11. So we have 9, 10, and then 11 to go here before we're done with Outsiders. Overall, League is dogged on this series, but for me, I've enjoyed it. I've actually enjoyed it a lot. I think it's pretty good. But at the same time, I can see folks being like, this would be better in a trade format, or it's too much non-linear storytelling that it's very convoluted and disjointed, and I could see people being upset about that as well. So either way you kind of spin it, I understand why there's a bunch of criticism for this one. But again, I'm enjoying it. Not the time to jump in. The whole thing's already out. So if any of my previous issues, if it's piqued your interest, you're either in or you're out. This isn't going to be the one that decides it for you. If you want to learn more about that, listen back and you can find out. But for me, I'm close. I'm interested. We'll finish it out, and we'll see how it all goes. So that is Outsiders number 8. And that's it. That's 10 books. So let's recap them real quick so you have them. First book here. Oh, you know what? I forgot. This is how I do it. So, you know what? I'm losing my mind here. I didn't show off the art for the Outsiders. I'm so like, let's try to close this thing out. Here's the cover, of course. Here's the art. So you can take a look. So we have Jenny and, Batwoman kind of talking through the story and everything. This is where she got the call in the first place of like, hey, you need to check out this person. This whole thing is going to lead into something. Don't really know what's going to happen here, but that is a callback to, I think it was issue 5 or 4. We'll see how that goes. And then this is her ghost, who's like basically the original wielder of the weapon, and he gives a whole big old synopsis here of the curse and how it all happened in the first place. This is where the burglar came in, and she's kind of been cursed ever since. So, that is the Outsiders number 8. Again, I gave that one a 4. Lee gave it a 3.7. So, let's get back to the full stack and list of books. Number 1 here, we had Exquisite Corpses, number 1. Highly, highly, highly recommend. What an awesome book. Awesome to be at the start and forefront of something brand spanking new that you can tell is just going to be a banger. So, that's cool. Then we have World Tree, number 14. One World Under Doom, number 4. The Immortal Thor, number 23. Batman the Brave and the Bold, number 8. Batman One Bad Day, Mr. Freeze. Huck Big Bad World, number 1. Storm, number 2. Miles Morales Spider-Man, number 14. And then that Outsiders, number 8. So that's going to wrap it up for a show. Looking at the time here, it's almost like midnight on the button. And I was like, well then you can power through and you get everything all sorted. It's like, no. It takes, not forever, but once I started incorporating video, now there's like 9 extra steps. So to post comics is already annoying enough because I have to type it all up, and that's totally fine. Then to do the video, export this, put the animations in, which is, fine enough, but then to export it takes a couple extra minutes. Then you got to put it up to YouTube. That takes a couple extra minutes. Then you got to do the thumbnail. Then the thumbnail takes a couple extra minutes. So you add it all together to do like just the YouTube portion alone. It takes a good 20 minutes to 30 minutes on top of like just doing the audio. And then you also have to do the timestamps as well. So it just takes a little bit longer. The wife was like, hey, like, why don't you just do that for like the main show on Saturday and then just do the Omega, just an audio only format. And it's like, that makes a lot of sense, but this is like such a visual medium. It's like, you gotta just have both. Otherwise it's like, what's the point of doing it, right? If you ain't gonna do it right, don't do it at all, in my opinion. So anyways, that's just a tiny midnight rant on a Wednesday as I just missed the Knicks like completely blow it. Oh, that's hilarious. You know what? I think I'm going to just leave it in there. So enjoy that little rant as well. Oh, geez. All right. I'm tired, clearly. Let's wrap it up. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. Be sure all the socials and the things. Let me pull it up instead of trying to fumble through and remember everything off the top of my head. saturdaymorningcbreview@gmail.com. Tips, hints, tricks, things you like to see, things you love about the show, things you hate about the show, things you're like, dude, like if you just did XYZ, it'd be a million times better. Or if you stopped doing XYZ, it'd be a million times better. Just tell me, let me know. Happy to take all that feedback into consideration. On Instagram, Saturday Morning Comic Review. That's where I do a bunch of the different content on highlights of the week, the books that I pulled for the week. I got this random weird series where I post like, sir, you can't read comics here at the most random places of where I'll bring a comic book. TikTok is a helpful bailiff, just basically the same thing there, but just everything's in video format on that side. If you want to follow me on League, where I have all of the books and everything, I'm Helpful Bailiff on that. So you can find me there too. YouTube, everything's at Saturday Morning Comic Review, of course. And then BlueSky, for the other ones where it's just like the tweets and the posts, it's more on the wrestling side of the house anyways. So we'll leave those off for now. But yeah, thanks again. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you in the next one.
This has been a DMW production. Thanks for stopping by.